Welcome to this week's episode of Courageous Leaders Changing the World. Super excited to have our guest this week, Drew Wild. Thanks for joining us.
I'm stoked to be here.
It's going to be a blast.
Courageous leader.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What's a time in your life where you've had to summon more courage than any other time?
What do you want me to start? Bro. I mean, you know my story. Obviously, anyone that's listening to the story has absolutely no fucking idea what my story is. But without going too deep, my background is built in the foundations, obviously, well, not obviously at all, but built in the foundations of addiction. There's probably been 3 times in my life where I've had to get to, like I say, fucking rock bottom. Some people have been to some fucking rock bottoms. Like, I shouldn't be alive, rock bottoms. Like, I should be fucking dead, rock bottoms. Where, for whatever reason, I wasn't. And actually had to put my hand up for fucking help. And I truly believe that's probably been 3 of the most courageous and pivotal moments of my life, all 3 of which have landed me in rehab. But all 3 of which were fucking got me to exactly where I am today. Yeah, so I can speak to that from personal experience of like just that. The feeling for me was like just deep-seated unworthiness of help. And so that, like, fighting against every conditioned bone in my body that says I am not worthy of anybody else's help, support, and most importantly, actually love. And to then put my hand up and still be willing to actually ask for that help that I needed in that moment. Fuck, yeah. I can still feel it. I can still take myself back to that place. And it really was. It was that or fucking death. So I'm really stoked that I don't know what the fuck I had in me. There's got to be some part of me that, you know, although the wounds were screaming at me, you are unworthy, there was some other part of me that was like, no, bro, bullshit. Let's go. We've got bigger and better things in store for you. So throw that motherfucking hand up and ask for help.
Yeah, straight into it. I love it.
Yeah, bro.
Can you expand on whatever the hardest time was for that?
I mean, I think the first time, they've all been very, very, very different experiences. The first time, I think, was hard in the nature because I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. I had no level of self-awareness. I had no understanding of addiction. All I had was I knew that I had a problem. I knew that I couldn't stop. I knew something wasn't fucking working. So I guess that was really scary from a place of like, literally anything past this point of me putting my hand up is completely fucking unknown. Like completely and utterly unknown. I don't know where this is going to take me. And, you know, I talk about this all the time. Like, you know, and this is circles into like the depth of my work and what I teach and preach. And, you know, unconsciously we're built to seek out familiarity. And so, I mean, that's what kept me in that loop. It's what kept me in that cycle for so long. I knew what would happen if I picked up that bottle, or I knew what would happen if I picked up that pipe. Like there was a lot of knowns. I knew that could kill me too, and I was all right with that. But yeah, this other pathway, you know, in the first time I was pretty young, I was like 21, 22 maybe. I had absolutely no idea where that was going to take me. None whatsoever. So I guess there was probably a deeper layer of fear there because of the unknown. The second time was 27, 28. And again, I think it was probably then now layered in because I do know what that actually takes. Because now I actually do know what I'm putting my hand up for. Because I actually do know what I'm applying for if I put my hand up. So that was also pretty fucking scary because I'm like, fuck. Now I've actually got to do shit. Now I've actually got to do all the shit that anyone's ever fucking suggested to me. Now I've actually got to apply all of the work, let's just call it, that I know is in store for me. So that was scary. And I mean, this feels scary even sharing this if I'm being really honest, bro, because the most recent one was fucking last year. And I've spoken about it on a public forum, on my own page, on my own content, on my own gram, on my own Facebook. I haven't spoken about it at depth. I haven't felt like I've needed to speak about it at depth yet. But yeah, the most recent was literally fucking October last year. And again, I mean, you could imagine the fucking layers that came up with that. I'm fucking 8 years in to this work. I'm fucking 6 years in to be known as the fucking addiction guy.
Yep.
Literally labeled, like, not by myself, by my peers, as the addiction guy. And here I am, fucking 8 years into this fucking journey, in a place where I've got to put my hand up and ask for help again. That was fucking... Honestly, bro, I'm going to say that was probably the hardest.
Yeah, thought so.
I genuinely think that was probably the hardest. Because, fuck, I mean, the myriad of stories. The myriad of stories coming out. But again, just deeper levels and deeper layers of deep-seated unworthiness. And it rocked me. And humbled the fuck out of me. Because the amount of people that came out of the woodwork that were just there and literally were prepared to just drop absolutely everything in a heartbeat and get me the help that I needed at the time that I needed it the most was fucking overwhelming. Really fucking overwhelming. So, yeah, that was, I mean, is that probably one of the most courageous things I've ever done in my life? I'd say so. Keep me alive. Yeah. And to have done the amount of work that I've had to, have become the leader that I was and to be seen in the space and the light that I've been seen in for so long and be back in that place that I never, ever, ever thought in a million years I'd be. Yeah, that was fucked. Needed and necessary, but fucked nonetheless.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like that. Everyone kind of experiences that to varying degrees of, the deep-seated unworthiness, unlovableness, and that when you've almost had this identity kind of put upon you of who you are, and then an entire business based on that thing, and then that starts to be, I talk about it based on like your core identity. Your core identity is what you do for work.
1,000%.
If you're in a relationship, that's part of it. If you're how you relate to your family, if you have a family member dies, part of your core identity dies. If what you do for work and the identity that you've created or that has been associated with your work, it's like you don't know who you are anymore. And most of the time, people who have been fighting to be able to change things, and that's wrapped up in the identity, it just becomes perpetuated from that, and it becomes so draining for the people going through it. You see it most with like lawyers because they're fighting against injustice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is like lawyers, they're fighting against injustice. What department do they work in? They work in justice.
Yeah.
So they're fighting against injustices all day long.
Yeah.
And every single person goes through that journey of like whatever work you're in is a reflection of what's playing out underneath the surface. Like people,
I talk about it all the time. It's you know, I mean, again, anyone that's actually listening to this, you know, maybe go through to my Instagram and listen to another potty I've been on, and you'll get my backstory and you'll understand my work. But yeah, like we don't have 3 hours, so we're gonna keep this short and fucking sweet and succinct. I love that you broached this topic because I love, this is what lights me up, and this is what I talk about so much now. Is like it's based on the premise of like you're not actually who you think you are, and this might fuck some people up that are listening to this.
bring it on.
Because most people, not all people, most people walk around on this planet, they're not who they think they are. They're a conditioned version of who they've thought they've had to become or contort into to ultimately receive some form of love and safety as a child. And this is why I love your example, where I see this always show up the most, is either in relationship or in career. Always. It's like, you know, the atypical, daughter or son of an addict usually will become the addict, or they'll become the fucking counselor or the therapist or the some form of a caretaker role, because that's the role they had to take up as a child. And I see it riddled. I mean, I was talking to my uncle about this actually the other day. Like I see it in just anyone that's in any form of like high achieving, high success, and high performance. Basically, there is some layer of I'm not enough or I'm not worthy that's got them to that fucking place. I saw it on the fucking David Beckham doco. I could just read it in his like somatic disposition. I could see like how fucking OCD that dude's become since not being able to play football. I saw it in Tiger Woods, where I unfortunately saw it like quite sadly was, I don't know if you watched the Friends reunion. So Matthew Perry came on. So they were all on, and as soon as Matthew Perry came on, I was like, fuck, like, he's not okay. Like, that dude's gone through some shit. And so every episode of Friends that they shot was filmed in front of a live audience. And he said one thing that I caught, and I was like, fucking boom, there it is right there. He said, if I told a joke and it didn't get the laugh that I thought it would, it felt like I was going to die. And I was like, oof. And that's why you became an actor. That's why you're in the role that you're playing, but you're not even fucking aware of it. And so I fucking love this train of conversation. I love this train of thought. Because, yeah, I mean, I've already spoken about it, right? I spoke about it when you asked me about some of my own past, my background, my history, seeking out that familiarity. Like, we seek out the same environments, especially around attachment that we grew up in. And like I said, you'll go and find that in your fucking intimate relationship, or you'll go and create that in your career. As simple as that. Like the carers, the people pleasers, like the amount of fucking nurses I've worked with. I can tell them straight off the bat, as soon as before, like they tell I'm a nurse, I'm like, cool, done. Already understand your entire background. I could probably read it to you from a fucking book.
Yeah.
And it creeps them out. They're like, whoa, how do you know? Like, we all love to think we're actually like really fucking unique. We're fucking not. Like, we're so similar.
Yeah.
We're all got the same shit. But yeah, I just find it fascinating. I love this shit. Like the way in which we adapt and then the way in which we will go and recreate these environments that unconsciously feel so familiar to ultimately where the fuck we grew up and where we first found, I'm going to say, a contorted sense of love and safety. Sounds a bit fucked up, but it's just what we do. Humans are weird.
Yeah, it's saw this meme once. It's like we recognize how our parents parented us, and we make sure as parents that we're never going to parent like our parents parented. So we go to the opposite extreme, ironically creating the exact same thing because it just swings the pendulum the other way and then it swings back the other way and it's the same energetic frequency. So we create this perpetuation of the same thing playing out.
Yeah, I mean, two things that come to mind when you say that. The first one, just writing on the meme theory, was like, yes, it was like a really, really popular, like kind of like sobriety page, and he posted this quote unquote meme, which was, you know, like the alcoholic, obviously like homeless, like bottle in the brown bag, kind of stereotypical perceived alcoholic, next to the guy in a suit. And it said, both had the same father. Addiction is a choice. And I was like, oh, no, you caught me on the wrong day, bro. You got me on the wrong day. I let this shit slide. I'm like, fuck no. And I was at the time working on my people pleasing shit. So you were talking about the swings of the pendulum. I was like way out on the like super aggressive, like, oh, this one's so I'm gonna rip this guy a new one kind of attitude. Yeah. And I was like, fuck no, bro. You know, that one modeled what he saw and one has just, like, there is no separation. The other has just found his sense of worth and enoughness in becoming a high-performance fucking corporate CEO. Mm-hmm. Like, there's literally no separation. The only difference is the stigma that we hold against that word addiction. Mm. So that's point number one. Writing on the back of what you said, point number two was, 1,000% is the remodeling or the trying to do the opposite of and still creating similar issues, which was like perfect example was my own dad. You know, his dad was like, you know, fucking a literal army sergeant, captain, I don't know what, high ranking army officer. And so you could imagine that kind of energy, just like super strict, you know, very unaffectionate. There probably wasn't much, let's just say, accommodation to one's feelings and or needs growing up in an environment like that. And so I saw it, and like, again, I can only see this shit now that I know what I know and do what I do. But I look back at my dad and he was the man in most areas of his life, like very successful, incredible human, very well revered, was literally the top of his industry in New Zealand. But at home was the nice guy. At home was quite fucking spineless. At home was, you know, again, this is it, like the complete opposite. And I know that he said, I'd never want to be my dad. You know, he was super loving and super affectionate, but again, in the dynamic with my mum, who was like kind of wore the big swinging energetic dick of the household, I wasn't modeled somebody that was actually safe. And so in turn, that created its own fucking myriad of problems and shit for me that I've had to work through and deal with and grow through and the conditioning that comes with that. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a tangent, but I mean, fuck, too many parents out there like, you can't get this shit right. Gabriel Mate says it right. He's like, you know, I'm, you know, whatever, for one of a bit, I had a paraphrase here, is, for want of a better term, like I am literally the best in the world at what I do, particularly when it comes to understanding childhood development. And I can tell you cannot get this shit right. He's like, I just made sure I just put enough money aside for their therapy when they get older. Yeah, and I love this. This is really interesting. Like it's the way in which humans will adapt and respond, more likely react to their environment to keep themselves alive is fucking fascinating. Survival. All survival.
How do we go beyond that survival instinct then?
Yes, good question. I had to fuck my shit up real good. Again, like this, I love this quote. I don't know where I read it, and I feel like it is slightly true, particularly with a lot of people I've encountered and come across, and people in our circles, and the humans that we know and work alongside. Is sort of like under 25 people kind of tend to maybe come into this world from a place of inspiration, which is really dope, especially this age. Like, I think people have a lot more access to just really fucking cool, healthy, inspiring content that, like, we didn't have the fucking internet growing up. You know what I mean? Yeah, we still had dial-up at like 10. And after 35, it's usually from a place of fucking deep desperation. So how do we get out of survival? I mean, you've got to you have to hit your breaking point. And that's different for everybody. That doesn't have to mean you get to like a fucking life or death situation like I did. What was your entry point?
Yeah, desperation.
Yeah.
This was going to be one of the questions that I was thinking about asking you as well. It's like, I remember I was driving down, Gold Coast Highway, more successful than I'd ever been, making more money than I'd ever made before. And I was down at Tugun, where the M1 kind of comes down to Gold Coast Highway towards the airport. And I was like, stopped at the traffic lights there. And I'm like, all right, if I just drive out into traffic right now, one of these trucks will just like take me out. Yeah. And then it won't look like a suicide because I can't do that to my family. And, in that point, you're like, that's rock bottom. It's like, no. In that moment, you recognize you need help. And what do? You fucking pummeling yourself fucking lower till you get to a point of actual change. Like, you recognize, I'm having that thought of like, okay, cool, this is how I can end my life. And you go, should be right. It's not that bad. So many other people have got it so much worse. So it was like, has to get to that point of like absolute desperation of all the things that I'd created, all the external identities of how I'd describe myself to the world, how I wanted to be seen, how I wanted to be seen as successful for my parents so that then they would love me, how I'd actually be worthy by speaking all over the fucking country, doing all of these things, living on the beach that was just off the beach then, actually, living just off the beach in Palm Beach at the time, and all the trappings of success. I've taken my business online because that's what you're marketed to do, all of the things. And, inside I was just like fucking dead man walking. And
again, talking about identity, like, would you say that circled back because you had built your entire frame of self on success?
Yeah. It was like,
and so you've got all this success and you're like, oh fuck, I still don't feel good enough.
Yeah. It was like
shit. I got $1 million in the bank, but fuck, I still feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah. It was like the coming together of like all of the core, I only just recognized that then, it was like all the core identities shifting. Like it was, I hadn't felt through any of the grief of my mum dying 6.5 years before. A relationship that I was in that was the one ended, and my work, although it was successful, I wasn't feeling any of it. It was like all this combination of all of these things coming together to conspire for me to actually go, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Who the fuck are you? What? Like, it's so hilarious as well. So I'm like, I remember the inflection point of me making that shift. I'm like, right, Google psychologist near me.
I need help.
It's just like the piece was like, I'd moved all my stuff to the Gold Coast, and then I moved in with these people, and they're like, so we want you to move out. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm depressed. I'm thinking about killing myself. And then you're kicking me out of this fucking house because the person who moved, who I met to be able to move in with was like overseas at that time. So I've come into this thing and they're like, sit you down and have that conversation. They're like, so I don't think you're what do they say? A personality fit. Sometimes people say values fit, but it's a personality fit.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like there crying my eyes out. And I literally go, this is fucked. You know, even these random people that I found on the internet don't even love me. And I like literally went back to my room, Googled psychologists near me, and went to see a psychologist. And I'm like, I think the government has like rebates for this shit. Let's try and get that. So I've got to go to a doctor, get that shit sorted. And then I don't like people telling me things.
Really? Oh, interesting.
So I go into this meeting with the psychologist, and it's up at Eleanor. I have this session, and she's like, go in, start talking about my mum, start feeling all the feelings, all the grief starts to come up, all of these things. And I come back like a week later, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm healed. This is amazing. And then she goes, sounds like you have bipolar if you're that healed after one session. And I'm like, bitch, I'm out of here. See ya. And that was my spiritual awakening. That was me starting to go, okay, cool. There's work for me to be done to be able to look at all of these things. And, you know, my question for you with all of that was like, when people are in that transition period between recognizing that they need help and actually getting it, how do you support people through that point? Because that's like the critical point.
Right. How do I? Or how is the entire system completely flawed?
We'll talk about the system separately. We'll talk about that separately.
It doesn't hold anybody. Fuck, yeah. How do I? I mean, fuck, honestly, it's fucking simple. They don't need fucking help at that stage. The last thing somebody fucking needs at that point is solutions. They might think that's what they really fucking want and need. Nah. They need someone that can just fucking sit with them. They need someone that can fucking validate their experience. They need someone that fucking understands them. They need someone that can shut the fuck up and fucking listen to what this person has to say and share. And that can actually hold them in whatever they're going through, and more importantly, whatever they're feeling. That's what they need the most. They need love. They need compassion. They don't need help. That comes. That will come. But in that moment, they need everything they've been fucking longing for their entire life. Which really, actually, honestly, usually boils down to just being seen, being heard, being understood, and being validated. Because more often than not, and I've worked with thousands of clients all over the fucking world, those are the things that they've been robbed of for most of their life. That's what's been taken away from them for most of their life. And again, I can share that from first-hand experience. You know, I mean, I remember one of the first, it was the first rehab I went to. Just to be in a space of people like that are going through a shared experience. Just that like sense of relief. It was like oh fuck. Like I'm not alone in this. Like that. Particularly with addiction, there's some deep-seated layers of shame that come with it. And to hear like you start to share your story and someone just turn around and be like, oh, me too. You're like, oh, wow, holy fuck. Like that fucking shadow of shame just starts to dissipate, drops to the ground. So, I mean that, and I think that's where a lot of people miss the fucking mark, particularly if they're new in this space, coaching world, healing world, practitioner world, want to help someone world. Again, usually that's driven. They've got to that place from, as we've already established, identity trauma, fixing, helping. And so that's where they don't realize that they're only playing this game actually quite unconsciously, selfishly, to meet their own needs. And so they'll jump straight to help because that's why they're doing what they're doing. When we can actually move into and integrate why we're here doing what you and I fucking do, you drop the fucking ego. The identity shifts, the identity morphs. The reason why we're doing this becomes a fuckload more integrated. And we can sit here and just shut the fuck up and listen and not have to be the star of the show. I don't need to be the star of the show anymore. I'm good. I did that for fucking years. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I loved it. Give me all the external validation you can. But if you're in that space, man, like that's it. Love, to be heard, to be seen, to be met with compassion, understanding, and validation. Full fucking stop.
Nailed it. Love it. So, the system.
Jesus.
So, there's been so many people have had their lives changed through things like, AA.
Mm-hmm.
There's been an entire paradigm of that supporting people to a certain extent. I see that as the old paradigm of, addiction. What if you were to define what the new paradigm of addiction and the evolution of that, what would that look like for you?
I mean, I'm going to go super macro. I'm going to go the new evolution of healing, full stop. And again, I know you understand this. I've seen you, bro. I've seen you floating around the EP groups. But it's at the core of the work that I've done with Matt and Ryan from the Center of Healing, which is, this isn't anything new. This has been around for years. But it's a bottom-up approach to healing. So explaining that to our listeners who are like, what the fuck are you talking about? A top-down approach is an old-school approach to ultimately mental health. Let's just break that down. So it's of the mind. Everything. The Western medical system separates the mind from the body, from the soul. And this isn't just woo-woo shit. This is backed by fucking science. All of our undigested life experiences are stored and imprinted in our fucking body. Or our nervous system, if you want to frame it like that. The reason why whatever behavior that keeps showing up for you that, is the thing that's getting in your way, whether it's people-pleasing, whether it's addiction, whether it's a fucking, insert maladaptive coping mechanism here, that is showing up as a result of a survival imprint that you have once stored in your body, not in your fucking mind. 80% of the feedback system is coming up from your body into your brain. Your feelings and your sensations create your thoughts, not the fucking other way around. I'm sorry. Full fucking stop. And so this is why, what we call a top-down approach would be anything that is of the mind. And this is the framework of conventional psychology. this the frame. It's built on the back of, I mean, you know, like you mentioned, 12 steps. 12 steps are dope in their fucking essence, in their core. Like the fact that two fucking alkies wrote that shit like 90 years ago. Like the core principles are sick. You know, like step one, like I admit there's a problem. Cool. 2 and 3, like there's something bigger than me that can, you know, help me out of this, whether that's fucking community, you believe in a fucking higher power, or just your authentic self, your higher self, God, source, whatever the fuck you want to believe in. 4 and 5 are like, okay, this is where it, like, I think it's lacking, is, and definitely doesn't go deep enough. And again, like, I'm not ragging 12 steps for anyone that's listening to this. I think it's amazing for fucking community. I think it's incredible for community, but it's not, it's just going to become another addiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I see as well. The amount of people that have come and done our work after, you know, breaking addiction, but then all that's happened is instead of them shaming themselves for being an addict, they shame themselves into making sure that they don't relapse. It's still the same energetic frequency.
1000%. 1000%. So yeah, 4 and 5 are like literally like writing your life story and sharing that with another person. Now that's really fucking powerful, don't get me wrong, but that isn't going to move all of these undigested life experiences of the past that are literally stored in your soma, in your somatic body. 7 and 8 are like, okay, now let's track the behaviors, these adaptations that this has created. That's cool. I do that shit. You know, that's foundation of a lot of my work. And then 8 and 9 are around forgiveness. They put a lot of emphasis on forgiveness of others. I think we need to start with forgiveness of fucking self first and foremost. And then 10 and 11 and 12 are like, cool, like what are my daily practices that, you know, just keep me sane, and like self-care and self-love and looking after myself and just carrying on with making this a way of living and staying a little bit more, aware of me and my surroundings. And how can I fucking give back if and when I can? Like, that's sick. But again, these frames don't go to the depth in which is needed to really dig this shit up from the fucking root of where it is stored in our body, which is these emotional imprints that are literally stamped in time in our nervous system. Honestly, like most of which are between fucking utero and 7 years old. And so that's where I see the biggest shifts taking place in the healing space, the people that are starting to realize and recognize that any somatic-based modality, I don't give a fuck what it is, whether you're doing fucking embodied processing, compassionate inquiry, somatic experiencing, a culmination of the lot, if it's got some access to the felt sense, you're going to see lasting, sustainable change. If you're staring at yourself in the fucking mirror every morning and telling yourself you love yourself, you're just fucking gaslighting yourself. There's no feeling involved. Well, like we were talking about this before you hit record, right? We're talking about fucking vision boards. Like you can't just stare at a vision board and the shit's going to come true. If you can join and associate some sort of felt sense to that, and genuinely actually tap into a felt sense of that is your literal lived fucking reality. That already exists. That is there. It's available to you right now. Fucking watch out. Go and create a vision board and apply it that way. And watch shit flip on its head. But I just, it boggles my mind. I could go on this for fucking hours. Just a lot, these modalities or ways of healing or approaches to healing that don't involve any form of access to the actual felt sensation or imprint of the event that created the adaptation in the first place. Like, I'm sorry. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that fucking disagree with me. You cannot muscle test shame out of your body. I don't give a fuck what you say. You cannot float above your fucking timeline and fucking eliminate all anger out of your body. That's my opinion. We bring someone in on for a debate. We can have one of those like Joe Rogan episodes where someone has a controversial topic that they bring to the table, and he brings in somebody else to like kind of have a bit of a banter, a bit of counteraction. But I don't think you would wholeheartedly disagree with that and what I'm sharing. But that's what I see is missing, and I get it. It's weird. It's different. It's not yet mainstream. It's becoming a fuckload more mainstream than it ever has been. I fucking love that Gabor Mate's work it's everywhere these days. Really, it honestly is. If I mentioned The Body Keeps the Score 10 years ago, no one knew what I was talking about. If I mentioned Peter Levine's work 10 years ago, no one knew what I was talking about. If I mentioned polyvagal theory 10 years ago, no one knew what I was talking about. I talk about it now. People are like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I understand that. That makes sense. That adds up. Like, cool. Dope. Sick. So, yeah, if we can actually bring that in, I mean, ultimately, the way in which I frame most of it, like my lens on the world is through trauma. We're just in a traumatized adaptation of self.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I've worked with a lot of NLP trainers over the years, and that's normally the first thing that I'm talking. That's the first thing that I'm talking about. We had one on the podcast recently, and I'm like, NLP would be a million times better if all of them just started with understanding number one, shame, number two, polyvagal theory. It's just like we would have a much better industry.
1,000%. Like, yeah, fuck, don't get me started on NLP. I fucking hate NLP. I openly hate NLP. The only honest thing, I hate NLP. But I was even thinking about this morning. Like, I don't inherently hate NLP.
Yeah.
There obviously are some really dope benefits to NLP, to emotion coding, to all of these modalities. If they help you and give you an access way into this world, fucking incredible. I didn't start with this shit. I started with the shit that I'm ragging on. Literally, I did.
Yeah.
And I get to recognize that. I started with a lot of NLP-based and rooted practices and modalities. But it didn't take me long to realize and recognize that wasn't it. And sometimes you just got to go through that process. That's cool. That's all right. What I don't like is a lot of the people that are peddling and pushing these things. But again, that's a rant for another day. So yeah, but it's funny you brought up that like NLP, like, I was talking and and shout out again to the Center for Healing. If anyone wants to go and just Google punch in the Center for Healing. Two of the creators of the Center for Healing are my business partners, Matt and Ryan. And, I remember this was fucking 2 or 3 years back. I was like, we were all ragging on NLP.
It's an important phase in your development.
Yeah, 100%. It's crucial. I don't think I've left it yet. It's hung around for a few years. And I said, and it kind of woke me up. I was like, I was like, timeline therapy would be dope if there was a layer of where you like floated above your timeline and you went back to that particular memory or sensation or felt sense, but you then actually were guided to go in on a somatic based level to then feel what was actually going on, obviously with safety, titration, pendulation, I understand all the words I'm talking about. And Brian was like, bro, that's exactly what Mel does. That's root cause therapy. I was like, oh, fuck, sick. Someone's already created it. Perfect. It exists. So yeah, it's out there. People are creating some really, really cool, dope shit. But yeah, I mean, that's where I think the biggest change gets to, be prioritized in the healing world, because it is, in my view, the only change that creates lasting, sustainable change. But then when you want to implement something that creates lasting, sustainable change, that means for a lot of people there's an end point. people get to a place where they're like, oh, I'm good. I don't need to give you any more money. And those are the systems we're up against.
Yep.
Because a lot of people make a fuckload of money out of very unhealthy human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a great business model to be able to get people hyped up and need them to come in back into the rooms every single time. It's really great.
Yeah, session dependency.
Yeah.
And I've been there.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things in our work. It's like when people go through holographics, we facilitate them first, but then like level 2, we teach them how to do the process on themselves so they never need to come back. It's like, if you want to come back, great. Yeah. Otherwise, just go do it on yourself. Like, you got some time, make some time, go do the process.
100%.
So that, one of the primary things that I talk about all the time is like, how do we create sovereignty and autonomy in humans more and more and more? That's what I want. That's what I want when people come into one of our events. It's like, you can work with us, and if you don't, that's okay. You're a sovereign, autonomous being. I see what's playing out. That's okay. You want support with that? Great. If not, that's okay too. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to be here supporting you. I'm still going to be allowing you to be able to make that decision rather than buy.
Everyone run to the back of the room. If you don't buy in the next 30 seconds, you're fucking a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, I'm a stand for in the industry. It's like, how do we increase the level of choice for people? How do we allow them to be sovereign, autonomous beings? How do we allow them to be able to, choose their own reality rather than buy into someone else's version of what reality is and how they have to get it sorted? And if they don't, they're a shit person.
Yeah, which again circles back to identity. Like, I get it. I understand. It doesn't make it okay. But I understand where some of these people are operating from.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
they're so ingrained in like that part of their identity, their deep-seated belief that their way is the only way. I literally spoke about this in my fucking story yesterday. Like, it was the same with, fuck, if we really want to go there, like, it was the trauma. I wasn't speaking. I was just speaking to like people being dicks on like the comment section on posts. But, I saw this play out ruthlessly during COVID. We had fucking 2 very separate sides of the fucking fence. And it was all built in identity and safety. What felt safe to you? And so it doesn't matter what side of the fence you were fucking on, you were on that side of the fence because that felt fucking safe to you. And the minute that safety is threatened, you're going to fucking dig your nails in. And so it just became this fucking battle, this fucking shit slinging contest. But again, I see it through the lens of trauma. I'm like, well, of course, these guys are operating from a state of survival. They're not operating from a place of rationality. There's no presence here. There's no, there's no ability for them from the state they're operating from, which is a survival state of being, to have any sense of rationality. That part of their brain shut off. It's not working. It's not operating. And so it was just this attack back and forward and back and forward and back and forward, just throwing and hurling fucking grenades. It's like, you're not going to get anywhere without that. Like, we're allowed to, it's quite bizarre. I know that maybe not like everyone really recognizes this. We're actually allowed to like disagree with people and
Really?
sometimes not actually say shit or not have to say shit. Yeah, it's a bizarre concept. It's wild. It's really weird.
Crazy. What's next for you? When's the music coming out?
Hey, big call, bruh. Don't know. At the moment, my priority is, I'm tearing the insides of my business out.
I like to do that often.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of rebuilding is what it is. It's just the word I'm using at the moment. So that's more my priority, is rebuild to create a lot more autonomy within my business so that I can then have a fuckload more time to invest into music. Yeah, that was also a weird and quite a trippy experience sharing that recently on my story. It's a world that's always been close to my fucking heart. I grew up in the music industry. I worked in the music industry for years back in New Zealand. I've always dabbled in like a bit of production, but I've never taken it seriously. The last 2 years, bro. Oh, this is a bit of a trippy story. I'll share it on this. I haven't shared it on a podcast, I think. So, bro, this has been coming through for like 2 years. It literally like nudging me. 2 years. Bro, you meant to make music. You meant to make music. You meant to make music. I'm like, shut up. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit in with my identity. It doesn't fit in with my identity structure. I like music. I fucking like, I do share a lot of music. I speak about music a lot, but make music? Like, you serious? I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm a practitioner, I'm a coach, I'm a whatever you want to fucking call me. That's my identity. I'm not a fucking drum and bass producer. Like, what are you talking about? And so yeah, it's been like tapping me on the shoulder. It came through massively in all sorts of different fucking ceremonies and the jam. And bro, this was literally like 2 months ago. I remember, usually I'm really good at tracking down tracks. Like I've just got an ear for music. So I'll hear like a tiny little sample or I'll hear a little clip or I'll get a memory of a track that I remember from literally like 10 years ago. And like my fucking ADHD is just like, I'll be relentless until I find that fucking track. And I do, like literally 99% of the time I'll find this track. I've had one track, bro, that's been elusive for fucking over 15 years. This thing's been running from me. And it's been there, it's been hovering, and I've known that this, when I found it, I was like, this could be insane. Like someone could make a bootleg off the back of this and it would blow the fuck up. I had a couple of mates who blew up back in the day, shout out Mount Eden Dubstep. And I remember he was the only dude, Jesse was the only bro that I sent this to. Because I wanted to keep this close to my heart. I'm like, I'm going to use this at some point in my life. And I sent it to Jesse on Messenger, Facebook back in the day. So I was like scrolling through Messenger, trying to find it. I finally found the message and it was a dead YouTube link. So it had been taken down off YouTube. I was like, fuck. And I was about to get in the shower and I just like looked up to the fucking universe. I'm like, right, if I'm actually meant to make music, like bring me the song. Simple as, just bring me the song. I got in the shower, literally like 2 seconds later, it's like Birdie Blackman. I'm like, the fuck? I was like, that's the fucking artist's name. Jumped out of the shower, butt ass naked, got on my phone, opened up Spotify, found the track. I was just like, okay, all right, surrender. I give in. I get the hint. So yeah, that's been a cool little pastime hobby recently. It's been making beats and it's fucking sick. I love it. I love everything about it. The grand vision would be to get to a level where I'm rubbing shoulders with some highly influential musicians and artists and then use that as a gateway into leveraging their influence for the greater good. That's the grand plan, bro.
Love it.
Yeah. Feels weird saying that. Feels a little bit edgy saying that. Feels a little bit vulnerable sharing that. But there's no part of my body that's like, that's a no. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Every part of my body is like, that's a yes. And that's probably what actually scares me more because it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So yeah, next 3 months, rebuild the biz, free up a shitload of time, bring in a lot more bank, and moonlight as a drum and bass producer. I literally just got off the phone last night to the owner, this dude Andre, who runs the Drum and Bass Academy in the UK. So yeah, I think that's the next step.
Love it. All lining up.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
In wrapping up, what would you, if you had one sentence that you could share with the entire world, what would that one sentence be?
Oh, bro. One sentence.
Yep.
would be my one sentence I would share with the entire world? What's there right now is just like, don't sleep on your dreams. Don't sleep on your dreams. Do not ever get to a place in your life where you wake up with any sense of regret. Like, leave fucking nothing on the table. Leave nothing on the table. That's it.
Love it.
Thank Dad for that one.
Thanks, Dad. I think that's the perfect thing to wrap up on. What's the best way for people to be able to find you?
Bro, stalk me on the gram at Drew_wild. Yeah, I'm super active on my socials. I love engaging with anyone and everyone. So if anyone just wants to message me, buzz me, has a question, dope, fire away. Yeah, I love that shit. So yeah, don't be afraid or don't hesitate to reach out if you want anything on anything.
Epic. Thanks so much. It's been a blast.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.